Have you ever sat quietly on a Sunday morning, with the birds chirping outside your window, and thought to yourself, there must be more to life than just keeping busy? Maybe you've raised your children, retired from your job, and now find yourself in a strange space, not lost exactly, but looking for something deeper, something meaningful. You've got time now. And maybe for the first time in decades, you finally have the mental space to ask those big, beautiful questions. What do I really believe? What still excites me? Can I grow even now? If you've ever felt that way, like life is nudging you towards some kind of quiet rediscovery, you're not alone. And let me tell you, you're not late to the party. In fact, some of the most powerful thinking we do in our lives happens after 65. Not because our bodies are as fast, but because our wisdom finally has the room to breathe. And that's exactly what today's video is about. We're going to talk about 5 books, just 5, that have the potential to completely reshape the way you see yourself, your relationships, your past, and your future. These aren't just books to keep you company on a rainy day. These are books that can open doors, shift perspectives, and maybe even awaken parts of you that you thought had long gone quiet. And don't worry, I won't be tossing around complicated theories or academic mumbo-jumbo. We're going to talk real-life ideas in everyday language, just like 2 old friends having a conversation over a cup of tea. Let's begin with the first one. You might have heard of it. It's a quiet little classic that's been passed from hand to hand for decades now. It's called Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. Now, if you've already read it, you know what I'm about to say. But if you haven't, you're in for a gift. This book isn't about grand achievements or fame. It's about an old professor named Morrie who's slowly dying, and the former student who comes to visit him every Tuesday for what becomes a series of life lessons. Doesn't sound like much at first, right? But let me tell you, every page is like a mirror. You start asking yourself, have I forgiven the people I need to forgive? Do I still give love freely? Am I chasing the right things, or just keeping busy? What makes Morrie so powerful is how simple his wisdom is. He doesn't tell you how to make millions or be successful. He talks about holding hands, about dancing in the kitchen, about what matters when you know your time is limited. And reading it after 65, it hits differently, because you've lived enough to feel those lessons in your bones. You've said goodbye to people. You've watched the world change. And Morrie's voice feels like a warm blanket, or maybe even a gentle nudge. A reminder that it's not too late to shift focus, to deepen, to forgive. Now, while Morrie touches the heart, the second book I want to share lights a fire under the mind. It's called The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's short, you could read it in a weekend, but the ideas inside, they could take a lifetime to live out. And that's the beauty of it. Ruiz draws from ancient Toltec wisdom. But don't let that intimidate you. It's incredibly down to earth. He talks about just 4 agreements you can make with yourself to change how you think, how you speak, and how you treat yourself and others. Let me tell you, when I first read this book, I realized just how much I'd been carrying around that didn't belong to me. Guilt, shame, other people's expectations. Ruiz teaches that many of us are living inside a dream we didn't even choose, and the way out is to rewrite the agreements we live by. One of the agreements is, don't take anything personally. Easier said than done, right? Especially when you've lived through a few decades of people misunderstanding you, letting you down, or assuming they know your story. But what if their words weren't really about you at all? What if you could let them go, without having to carry the sting? That's what this book opens up. Another agreement is, always do your best. But he doesn't mean perfection. He means your best today, which might be different than yesterday. Maybe your body's slower now. Maybe you forget little things here and there. That's okay. Doing your best now means showing up with what you have, without shame, without self-punishment. That kind of kindness to yourself, that's transformation. The best part? The 4 Agreements doesn't try to make you someone else. It helps you remember who you've always been underneath all the noise. It reminds you that peace is a practice, and that no matter how old you are, you're still allowed to grow lighter. You see, that's something nobody tells us about getting older. That it's not just about collecting memories. It's about letting go of the ones that keep weighing you down. That's why books like these matter. They don't just entertain you. They offer you quiet, powerful tools to shape the way you live the rest of your life. If those first two books helped open the heart and clear the mind, then this next one gently nudges you to look around and ask, what kind of legacy am I leaving behind? What kind of world am I still part of, and how do I show up for it? The third book I want to bring to your heart is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. Now, I'll be honest, this book is not an easy read. Not because it's full of big words or complicated ideas, but because the story behind it is raw, real, and unforgettable. Frankl was a psychiatrist who survived the horrors of the Holocaust. And yet, instead of writing about the cruelty or pain in a way that would break you down, he does something extraordinary. He writes about hope, about choice, about how, even in the darkest places, we still have the power to choose how we respond. There's a line in the book that says, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing. The last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." That line alone is worth the price of the book. Because at our age, many of us have faced losses. Of health, of friends, of roles we used to carry. And there's a quiet grief in that. A kind of ache that doesn't always have a name. But Frankl's story shows us something remarkable. That purpose doesn't retire when we do. Meaning isn't something only the young chase. In fact, we might be in the richest season of our lives to truly understand what it means to live with purpose, not for status, not for approval, but for something deeper. Maybe that purpose is passing on stories. Maybe it's teaching a grandchild how to fish. Maybe it's just showing up to your garden every morning and saying, "I'm still here, and I still care." This book doesn't offer cliches or motivational fluff. It offers you the quiet courage to face your days, the hard ones and the beautiful ones, and say, even now, I matter, and how I carry myself still shapes the world around me. And when you finish that book, and I do hope you do, you may find yourself sitting a little taller. Not because the world has changed, but because your view of it has. Because that's what real books do. They don't just inform you. They transform how you see the ordinary. Speaking of seeing differently, there's another book I must share with you, one that turns everyday moments into small miracles. It's The Art of Happiness by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Dr. Howard Cutler. Now, don't let the word art fool you. This isn't about painting or drawing. It's about the art of living, of truly cultivating happiness in the midst of whatever life throws your way. What makes this book so special is how the Dalai Lama speaks, not like a spiritual leader sitting on a high mountain, but like a gentle friend sitting across from you at the kitchen table. He laughs. He admits to struggling. He talks about fear, about anger, about how even he, a man revered across the globe, still has to work every day at cultivating peace in his heart. And here's the most comforting part. He says happiness isn't something you wait for. It's something you actively practice. It's not about having perfect health or a big house or all the answers. It's about choosing compassion again and again. For others, yes, but especially for yourself. That hit me deeply when I first read it. Because for many of us, especially after 65, it's easy to look back and replay regrets. To say, I should have done more, or I wish I'd spoken up, or why did I waste so much time worrying? But the Dalai Lama reminds us very gently that the only moment we ever truly have is now, and that within this moment, you can begin again. He talks about training the mind like a muscle. Not to deny pain, but to shift your attention gently back to what still brings light. A kind word, a warm memory, a blooming flower, a breath. When I read this book, I remember thinking, it's like someone just turned the dimmer switch up on my life. Things weren't suddenly perfect, but they were clearer, softer, kinder. And perhaps the most important idea in that book? that we're all connected, that your smile, your story, your very presence, even in the smallest moment, ripples outward in ways you may never fully see. And I don't know about you, but that makes me want to live just a little more intentionally. So, we've wandered through the wisdom of Mori, cracked open new mental paths with the Four Agreements, stood in awe of meaning with Viktor Frankl, and smiled through the gentle teachings of the Dalai Lama. And yet, there's still one more voice waiting for us. One more book that takes all these ideas, love, meaning, compassion, purpose, and turns them into a kind of personal blueprint for living boldly, even now. So here we are, for Books In. And already you may be feeling it, that gentle shift inside, that quiet invitation to reflect, to release, to reimagine. And as we turn to the fifth and final book, I want to say something that may surprise you. This last one isn't just about thinking differently. It's about living differently, boldly, authentically, and maybe even a little rebelliously. Because after a certain age, 65, 70, 75, we've earned the right to drop the act, to stop trying to fit into boxes that no longer serve us. And that's why this final book is so powerful. It's called Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. Now, Brené isn't your typical self-help author. She's a researcher, yes, but also a storyteller. She doesn't write from a pedestal, she writes from the trenches. And the big idea behind this book is vulnerability, but not the kind that makes you weak. Quite the opposite, really. She argues with stories, research, and so much heart that vulnerability is actually the birthplace of courage, connection, creativity, and yes, joy. And when you've lived as long as we have, you know that it takes real courage to be honest, to let people see the real you, the imperfect, work in progress you. What touched me most when I read Daring Greatly was this idea that we don't need to have all the answers to be worthy of love, that we don't need to hide our scars or soften our opinions or pretend to be okay all the time. We're allowed to say, I'm still figuring it out. We're allowed to say, that hurt. We're allowed to be fully, deeply human even now, especially now. And here's where it gets exciting. Brené talks about what she calls the arena, that space in life where we show up, take risks, and try things, knowing we might fail. And she says something I'll never forget. If you're not in the arena getting your butt kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. What a line, right? Think about that for a moment. All the times people told you how to live, how to parent, how to age gracefully, how to behave, and maybe they weren't even living their own truths. Brené gives you full permission to step into your arena, whatever that is, and live loud. Write the poem. Start the painting. Wear the color you love. Speak the truth, even if your voice shakes. Be the version of you that maybe you've kept hidden for too long. Because here's the thing. Vulnerability isn't weakness. Vulnerability is standing up, even when your knees are trembling, and saying, this is me. Take it or leave it. And the moment you do that, the moment you stop apologizing for your softness or your strength or your boundaries or your tenderness, that's when real freedom begins. You see, the beauty of reading books like these at our age is that they don't just entertain us, they activate us. They whisper, you still have time. Not time to people please or fit in, but time to truly come alive. To write a new chapter that's braver, truer, and more you than ever before. And maybe that's what all 5 of these books have in common. They don't just offer advice. They hold up a mirror not to show you who you used to be, but to reveal who you can still become. You can become kinder to yourself and others. You can become lighter by letting go of the grudges that have weighed you down. You can become bolder by speaking your truth and standing your ground. You can become freer by refusing to live by other people's scripts. And you don't have to do any of it perfectly. There's no finish line here. Just small shifts. A few pages at a time. A few new thoughts in the morning light. A few deep conversations with people who really see you. So here's what I want to leave you with today, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You are not too old. Not for change. Not for clarity. not for passion or curiosity or joy. Your story didn't end when the kids moved out. It didn't end when you retired. It didn't end when the phone stopped ringing as often or when your knees started creaking on cold mornings. Your story is still being written, and every page is a chance to choose differently. And maybe, just maybe, these 5 books are not just books. Maybe they're invitations. Invitations to think again, feel again, live again in a way that's deeper, gentler, freer. So if one of them speaks to you, follow that nudge. Check it out. Let the words wash over you. See what they stir up. And if they bring tears, let them fall. If they bring laughter, let it echo. And when you're done, I hope you'll share what moved you. In the comments, in conversations, in quiet reflections. Because your voice matters. Your experience matters. And your journey, no matter what chapter you're on, is still full of wonder. If this video touched you, if it reminded you of something you'd forgotten or something you've always known deep down, I'd love for you to leave a comment below. Share what book changed your life. Or tell me which one you're going to pick up next. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel and join us for more conversations like this. Because this community, it's made for you. Here's to living your best, most thoughtful life, one meaningful page at a time. You've got more power than you think. You've got more story than you've told. And you've got more time than you know. Let's make it count. Together. Sometimes. All it takes is one line in one book to shift something inside of you forever. One sentence that reaches across time and speaks directly to the version of you that you are today. Not the younger you. Not the you that had a title, or a house full of children, or a calendar full of plans. The now you. The one who's still waking up each morning, wondering what else this life has to offer. And if you've stayed with me through this whole video, through Maury's quiet lessons, through the personal power of the 4 agreements, through Frankl's raw truth, the Dalai Lama's calm wisdom, and Brené Brown's rally cry for courageous living, then I believe something has stirred in you, maybe even opened. Not every book is meant for every season of life. But these 5, these are for the season you're in right now, the season of reflection, of renewal, of rediscovery. You see, after 65, we're no longer living to impress. We're living to express. To express love. Maybe you've been holding on to old shame, regrets, or invisible expectations. Maybe someone told you a long time ago who you were supposed to be, and you've been quietly trying to live up to it ever since. But let me say this. It's not too late to lay those things down. It's not too late to rewrite your story. You don't need permission. You just need a little light. And maybe that light comes from a paragraph in a yellowed paperback you find at the library. Or a chapter you hear on audiobook while walking in the park. Or a quiet moment after dinner, when the world outside has gone still and all that remains is you, a lamp. And a good book that feels like it was written just for you. That's the beauty of words. They find us when we're ready. And they give us back to ourselves one page at a time. I want to tell you a little secret before we wrap up. When I started reading books like these, I didn't expect anything huge to happen. I didn't expect my entire outlook to shift. But it did. It was forgiving someone who never apologized. It was looking in the mirror and thinking, you know what? You've come a long way, and you're still becoming. That's what these books offer. A soft revolution of the soul. Not because you need fixing, but because you deserve freedom. And if I can leave you with one invitation, it's this. Don't just read these books. Let them read you. The world needs more people who think deeply, love openly, and walk with wisdom. And that's you. That's who you are. You've walked through decades. You've faced change, loss, reinvention. You've stood at crossroads and kept going, even when the road felt uncertain. You've earned every wrinkle, every laugh line, every story. And now you get to live wide open. Read that book. Start that journal. Call that friend. Say what needs to be said. Chase what sets your heart on fire, even if it's just a flicker right now. Even if you're not sure where it leads. That's the beauty of this chapter. It's yours to write. And hey, if this video touched something in you, I hope you'll take a moment to share it. Maybe you know someone who's just retired and wondering what's next. Maybe your partner or your neighbor could use a little inspiration. Send this their way. Start a book club. Or better yet, leave a comment and tell me, which book are you going to read first? What part of today's conversation made you think, that's exactly what I needed to hear? You never know who you'll inspire just by sharing your story. And while you're here, don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. This channel is more than just information. It's a community, a safe space, a reminder that getting older doesn't mean fading away. It means finally being seen for all that you are. Thank you for spending this time with me. Truly. Until next time, keep growing, keep reading, and keep daring to think in new ways. Because the best pages of your life, they're still ahead. Here's to you and the next great chapter.